Okay, so you've got to turn the chair around and go, Paul's Golden Takeaways, Volume 1.
You've gone on mute.
Something happened.
Yeah.
For a while, right? Then you've got to look at what's inside the high-risk building site.
Paul, could you start that again? For some reason,
working.
it went all wrong. That's it. It's working perfect now.
Is that, yeah. Okay, I think
Yeah.
it's my dodgy headphones. No, so I went for the stuff that's in the Building Safety Act, right? And just looked at what the definitions were of a few things recently, just to refresh myself. Right now, when you look at it, and this is all going to feed into this second legislation, because Hull said it very, very well recently for Construction News, didn't he? We're not making you build to different standards, but we're going to make you behave to different ones, right? So when you look at it, when you go for the purposes of, product safety, if under normal and reasonable foreseeable conditions of use, taking into account any specific that's specified for the purposes of this paragraph by construction product regulations, the product does not present any risk to health or safety of persons, or if it does, the risk is as low as can be compatibly with using the product. Excuse me, dry throat. That's what product safety means, right? If you look at safety, I think it's critical. Where's it gone? It's down the bottom here. Safety critical products. Where's it gone? I've got to find the wording. I haven't highlighted it up, unfortunately, yet. Safety critical standards. That's it. Sorry, 1 second. I'm almost there. Right, next. So, okay, so it says construction product regulations may make provision for and in relation to standards for safety critical products, hence safety critical standards, right? Is the definition, right? So, so it tells you in here that safety critical products are in the list that's contained within construction product regulations, right? Where's it gone? Where's it gone? I want to find the exact definition of it.
Have they produced a list then?
Well, let me get on. I've got it here. Sorry.
Yeah.
For the purpose of this schedule, safety critical products means construction products which are included in a list contained in construction product regulations, right? So a construction product may be indicated in the list under the if, in the view of the Secretary of State, the failure of the product would cause would risk causing death or serious injury to any person, and the product is not one for which there are designated standard. The standards which it basically tells you that it's the list contained within CPIs are basically safety critical products, right? And those things, have a risk of causing death or serious injury to persons. Now, the bit that kind of I think's caught everyone a bit amiss with this is that everyone's thinking this is just fire safety related. It is not, right? So when you start looking at listing construction product regulations, and I'll quickly share my screen so you can see it. So I've got to really try my mouth today, George, so I do apologise on that. So this is the list from construction product regulations. So when you look at it, this is like the area codes at the back, right? This is what I'm assuming it's referring to, right? Precast, normal lightweight autoclaved aerated concrete products. There's a revelation, George, eh?
Yeah.
Doors, windows, shutters, gates, related building hardware, membranes, thermal insulation products, composite insulating kits. There's loads of things in here. You've got stuff like chimneys, flues, specific products,
Sanitary
products. Well, yeah, because you're carrying stuff which is category 5 water risk. And if you don't look after them, you can spread cholera or other disease, can't you? Which can cause, what I'm saying to you is, can cause risk of death or serious injury to persons. That's safety critical. This is what I'm saying to you. So I think everyone's kind of like looking at it in the firelight, but actually the fire stopping and fire sleeving's at the bottom here. But you're talking about water regulations. You're talking about all the rest of it. And Joe, I don't know if you was there at when we spoke last time, if you can remember, is that I was saying one of my biggest issues is getting people into the headspace where you go, every product has a function it's supposed to do initially, then the fire element's the last bit. Like Douglas Mattison, brilliant guy, and I'm going to say it I think he's great. When is a door not a door? And he tells you. He goes, when it's a jar, which was most likely. He goes, when it's a door that has security, when it's a fire door, when it's this, when it's there's so many functions that kit can do. It's the same as the dampers. Is it a damper that's protecting against the ingress of smoke? Is it there for fire only? What is it? And this is what
this list they've come up with, or is this a list you've come up with?
that's inside CPR, Construction Product Regulations 2011. And what it does is it tells you in here the safety means the products which are included in a list contained in the Construction Product Regulations, and that's the CPR list that's in there, and it's right in the back in the annex. If I go to, give me a second, hold on.
Look at doors and windows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, windows are dangerous; they fall out, aren't they?
Yeah.
Doors are dangerous; they don't work. Do you remember the kid years ago that was crashed to death by the glass mirror in the retail store?
Yeah.
Safety critical, isn't it? The fixings. You can see that the whole change is coming, and this is why, if you look at those 12 points I've done, around, and I've given to you, George.
Sorry to cut across you, but so that means all doors, not just fire doors.
I think if you look at a door which is powered, it's under the Machine Act, isn't it, as well? Because you've got the power stuff on it. It can't crush you to death, can it?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Doors on it? Was doors on it, or was it fire doors?
No,
yeah,
it's doors.
Doors is here. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing, and I don't.
No, if you scroll up.
Door. See, look. Doors, windows, shutters, gates.
There you go.
So it's all there.
So it's all doors, George. You're right.
Yeah. This is at the back end there, this is part of that CPR passage at the back. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but he talks about the competency around general assignment of product standards and things like that. So, but it's there, So everyone's looking at the list of, and I'm guilty of it, George, as well, because I've been heavily involved with trying to get the list done around where's it gone? Like, I'll bring that back over if I can get it to work. Around these kind of ones at the moment.
Yeah.
But that's just, just general passive fire. That stuff there is literally probably a bit of flues at the top. But it's some of this, some of that, bit of flues. Do you know what I mean? Flues there, chimneys.
Thermal insulation products.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because if you don't insulate something, you lean up against it and it burns you, it can cause serious injury or death.
Mm.
I'm just putting this into perspective when you look at it, because when you look at the wording that was used, I'm sure it was something along the lines of this: structural fire safety and other regulatory pertaining hazards.
Yeah. Structural safety and fire safety, wasn't it?
Well, I think we've added the fire safety in because it's of an unconscious bias. I think it says structural fire safety and other regulatory pertain hazards.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's not said fire on everything, I don't think, but this is where I think we're kind of like.
Yeah.
So I'm going, is this a structural safety issue? Well, that's covered by that bit there. Do you know what I mean? Is it pins for structural joints, structural bearings? It's all in there. Because you get this stuff wrong, it all falls apart. Walls, gypsum products. So you look at it and you go, we're probably looking at it too simplistically, because it's complex anyway, George, isn't it? We know that, but I think we're probably looking at it a bit too simplistically. It's actually a bit more to it. Do you know what I mean? I was going to try and find if I've still got it open on this screen here. Hold on, where's it gone? Still got CPR 2011 still open. Hold on. I don't think I have.
CPR relates to, as I understand it, it's Regulation 7 of building regs.
Well, it does, and I mean, just have I got this here, George, as well? I mean, can I just put this into context, right?
Yeah.
Because I think this is where it's really important. Because you talk about even though these things are all very similar, they kind of overlap, don't they? Is it this one here?
Yeah.
That's Douglas's presentation. Let's get rid of that. I want the other one. Open. Do that presentation. But what's really good is, yes, if I look at this one here quickly, that was Regulation 7. Adequate and proper materials appropriate for the circumstance, adequately mixed, prepared, applied fixtures, adequate functions to which they are designed in a workmanlike manner. Now, there's number 4. Well, if I bring that back up again, go back to number 4. This is before you get onto the higher risk buildings. Number 4. Is it the number 4?
See,
So
just before, if I could just say,
Yeah.
before you joined,
Yeah.
Mark, we were just talking about, obviously the big concern at the moment, 1st of October, is
Yeah.
high rise residential buildings or high risk residential buildings. It really irritates me. They keep swapping that term, by the way.
Who knows, George? Who knows?
But because it's completely, anyway. But the concern that I've got is that I think a lot of this actually, as Martin just said, really what this is about is enforcing what people should have been doing anyway, which is complying with building regs. Yeah. What this is doing, it's shining a light on the fact that people seldom are. And therefore, I think this is really helpful, because the other thing that came out in the legislation, the secondary legislation, is that the clients have to now sign off that they've received all the information.
Yeah.
Now that's a real first.
Yeah.
Because normally, I was talking to somebody from building control, and he was saying what typically happens is that building control goes along to the client. The client is briefed by the construction company to tell them that they've got everything. Right? Because if they don't say that, then they won't get the completion certificate. Right?
Yeah.
And building control aren't going to drill into asking any more questions, because their job is just to get a confirmation from the client to say that they've that it's complied. So nobody's actually checking.
No.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
And that's right though.
Yeah. Now, this new legislation or this new thing saying that they've actually got to confirm that they've had the information. I think that's going to be a game changer.
Good.
Because they've actually got to read it. They've actually got to look at the O&Ms. They've actually got to look at the handover information. And I don't think most clients do.
I think, Joe, it depends on the client and the level of maturity, George. I mean, because let's face it, right? And I don't mean this to be rude, because there's some really good, strong clients out there, very respectful, and we're all friends, If you've got a client which is just flipping a job very, very briefly and getting out, they won't necessarily have the level of maturity or intelligence, you could say, to understand what all this means.
Yes. Could you hold just for 1 second? I just need to dip out for a second. Sorry.
Of course. But Martin, that's the
annex you were referring to.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could find in there, because what it refers to is a list in CPR 2011, and that's the list at the back. Product areas and requirements for tabs. I'm not sure what tabs means, to be honest with you. I can probably find out. I don't know what a tab is actually. It would define somewhere. I don't really need to bother what it is, but that's the list there. That's what I've taken that, put it into Excel, and that was a bit underneath, which talks about analysing risk, which is about risk, setting the technical criteria, setting assessment methods, determining the factory control procedure, which is this is. So the 12 points that I've done for this PFKG, which is I've given it back out to you guys to see what's gone on, is I've got 5 point around analysing risk, how you get to the right operation of it, how you classify it, how you put it in, how the wall should interface as a system, and how you install it. But then obviously this is like a QA function assessing. So it all fits in with what this is saying, and just by default. Never read this bit before previously. It all kind of like the same logic's been applied. So, but that was a list there essentially, Martin. Sorry, George, I see you back now. Just referring to where I got the list from. It was there.
Going to go for
TPR
technical
2011.
advisory board. I'm going to put my
Technical
money on.
advisory board. Yeah,
Sounds about right, doesn't it?
yeah, that's what it is. There, it's at. That's where it all comes from. That's the list.
Nice.
Just Annex 4.
Will you
Weird.
share that with us?
Yeah, it's just I've just taken it from the government website. Just under
Yeah.
Construction Product Regulations 2011. It's yeah, that one there. I'll send it over to you, George, mate. Anyway,
The two
it's
that
fine.
stand out for me were gypsum products and aggregates. I just think, well, how does that work?
Well, gypsum
gypsum-
products is your walls, isn't it? It's your walls.
I know, but it could easily be gypsum plaster, couldn't it?
But aggregates is probably the thing is you got to look at.
Yeah, we're guessing. Yeah.
No, well, don't we're guessing. Do you know what it is? It's the problem I've got with this is that this isn't technical. This is health and safety law, right?
Yeah.
So you put people, and I don't mean this to be rude, you get people that think they're technical and they're not technical, because technical now is technical, isn't it? It's ultra, some of this stuff, it's so complex. But now you've got to read it as a health and safety lawyer. So you sit there and you go, will it cause harm or death to an individual? Now, silica, which is in aggregates, can cause other problems, can't it? Silicosis. Also, it can cause burning because it's an alkaline. And gypsum products, there'd be something around that as well, whether it's the weight, the dust, or whatever's in it. That's a health and safety issue. Does that make sense?
It's chiming quite well, Paul. We had, this takes a bit of explaining, but bear with.
Yeah.
We had a question come up, excuse me, from our procurement team saying, we've got national agreements across the board with some of the household names, merchants.
Yeah.
So Travis Perkins, etc., etc. And the agreements are, across the board. So if anybody from our organisation says, "Can I have a pack of this?" then they get a pack of that. But within the agreement, there is also a little rider that says, if they haven't got a pack of that in, they're allowed to substitute for a pack of the other.
Like Tesco's, mate. Nobody's holding
I'm
Tesco's,
being,
by the
I'm
way,
being
like
very
Tesco's.
technical here.
You order a marrow and you get a
Well, you
you
get
know,
an equivalent, but an equivalent according to your merchant.
eggplant.
So
Aubergine,
the procurement team came to me and said, "Is there anything in the new legislation that says, we're offside here?" And when I looked into it, I had to go back and say, maybe, but I'm not going to waste my time with the new legislation. You're actually bang outside the CDM regs. Because what they've done by substituting a product is they've assumed the role of the designer. That's in the CDM regs, let alone the new building safety one. So when you order 12 of these and you don't get 12 of these, you get 12 of something else, you're in a world of bother. It's just going to get worse because people are now going to start checking it and asking about it.
So TP, they've unwittingly taken on the role of designer.
Yeah.
It depends
by
on their
having this
weekly
agreement.
words, but the thing is, and I'm with you, they probably have. It's a bit like, not trying to mention Tesco's again. When they send me an aubergine, I don't like aubergines. I like courgettes. They're just assuming the role of the customer.
Yeah.
Gets. Do you know what I mean? But no, look, I'm with you. I think all of this stuff's quite interesting and ample time, because I'm sort of sitting there going, like what Hull said was basically the changes are not asking the construction to build to different standards. They are telling it to behave to different standards. The interest and opportunity to demonstrate our willingness to embrace these reforms. So I'll zoom in, George. I can see you looking like a koala there.
No, it's all right.
With Meerkat, we build public trust in what we do. Then the last bit was, it will not be quick or easy, but it needs to be done. That was in Construction News,
I went to a GS1 event about a week or so ago, and there was a guy there from Fisher who make fixings, and and he was describing the way they're using GS1, and what he was saying was that some manufacturers, or not manufacturers, they're almost like, I think they're like distributors, but they're sort of intermediary people.
Yeah.
What they'll do is they will take a product that they publish their own products, but they don't manufacture them.
Yeah.
Right. And what they'll sometimes do is swap out one product for another product, right? But they don't give it a new barcode.
That's
apparently that's not uncommon. So they may be sourcing from 2 or 3 different manufacturers across Europe.
Yeah.
And they may then choose to swap one product for another product, but because it's their product ID, they've swapped it. Now that I think is very interesting.
It's interesting.
So I think, Martin, you told me several years ago when we first talked through this about glass.
Yeah.
And you said that Saint-Gobain couldn't tell you where the glass actually came from, which of their factories it came from.
No, in their head office, they didn't know. They wouldn't know. There's no stewardship in the UK on glass. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to believe, but it's a fact.
You've gone off again, Paul.
Change, right? It was just to say that under
number 4, provision under 3 of the designated standards, right? I don't know if you can see that, George. I'll zoom it in a bit.
Yeah.
Bit more. Sorry. Let's go back to that Excel quickly. Hold on. Construction product may make provision for in relation to designated standard for construction products. See, and technical assessments for construction products, right? So the provision under number 3 may include the designated for the designation by the Secretary of State standards in accordance with product regulations or the 2011 regulation, which again is that product list there. For the designation by the Secretary of State or international standards, right? So what you're saying is things that are prepared in relation to construction product regulations, the things that are done to EU harmonised standards or international standards, or EU harmonised standard, international standards be designated standards. So the only thing with that really is that when you look at Regulation 7, the whole lot of it, you can use CPR, you can use harmonised, it's staying the same thing. You can use ISOs. There's other routes to comply and actually how it's safe to do the building. So nothing's really changing. This is just reinforcing it. The one that was really interesting was mandatory reporting. Did you read that?
I did.
So
I did.
Mandatory reporting. Is it under the HRB one? Is it mandatory? Yeah. So let me just get that back up then quickly. Hold on. Here's one I prepared earlier, George.
If you're struggling, I've got it on my desktop.
I've got it here, mate. Now, so if I go to mandatory regulation 32. It's going to 32. Hold on. 32. Oh, gone past it. Okay. It should tell you here. That one there, not that one there. It tells you here what the designations are. I must have gone past it. Hold on. I looked at this briefly the other day, Martin, but basically, okay, my computer's all over the place.
Yeah, we got involved with the feedback sessions. I think one of your guys did as well, Paul, in fairness.
Yeah, probably Chris.
Not sure the names because I didn't get involved, but they ties in with what you were saying earlier, George. It was the MD who got involved, but he was saying the questions who were being asked by, I think it was PA Consulting, where they didn't know the difference between high rise and high risk either. They were sort of very confused about So they got off to a great start, just asking these questions about, what do you think about this and that and the other? And our MD was saying this all needs to sort of take care of the stuff that goes on during design development.
It tells you here somewhere the information that it talks about, right? This is just going to further reinforce it. What it says, I'm going to find it. Oh, let me see if I can just find it. I think I've already got this in an email somewhere anyway. Let's see if I can find it.
There's a guidance document which might help, chap.
Yeah, let's have a look. What's the guidance document one, mate? You got there, mine?
I'll put it up, shall I? And just see if there's anything that you recognise.
Finish off what you were saying there, Martin. You were saying about the discussion with PA Consulting.
It was we were saying let's not just focus on what goes on site, because that's what the whole industry does, but what goes on before we get to site.
Yeah.
And it was news. It was just a whole new way of thinking to these people. They'd got it split into two, basically, in occupation and during construction.
Crikey.
In their heads. Oh yeah.
Mm.
So to try and influence that, and this is only a few weeks leading up to the October 1st deadline, and get the thinking change was just almost impossible. Here we go. I'll share this. He said, "Can you see it?"
Yes.
Is this ringing any bells, Paul?
Yeah, let's have a quick look. I'm just going to have a quick look for
where it'll get interesting. And we found this the other day. We were going through this on Friday, funnily enough, Thursday last week. There's the building safety occurrence definitions, structural failure and spread of fire and smoke, and that must be reported. Anything that's likely to result in death or harm.
Yeah.
Does it say what level of detail you need to report? So, for example,
it goes on to yeah, what must be reported. We'll get to the interesting bit. Well, it's all interesting.
It should tell you here somewhere.
You must report faults you discover in the design plans.
Yeah.
That's a source for conflict, isn't it?
Yep.
We don't like your design. We're going to tell the regulator. Oops. Anything that gets reported to RIDDLE has to be duplicated to a mandatory occurrence report. It's a new one. We didn't know that until Thursday.
Yeah, I think you must be on the guidance page there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And because you're looking at mandatory occurrence reporting, let's have a look on here quickly. Occurrence.
There's the detail of what you submit, George, if that's.
Yeah.
And after you've submitted the report, they'll be back in touch to say, yeah, got enough, or we need more, or.
So does it require you to say where that particular product was used? Does it? Yeah, because mandatory occurrence reporting, it doesn't specifically say it's about a product, does it? It's about
any
an incident.
Risk.
Yeah, it's a risk.
Any risk, I think, George, would be a better way of describing it.
Yeah,
anything that you could is potential.
Yeah, so once you know that there's a risk.
This is it. Can I share the screen quickly? Sorry, mate. I've got
Go
it.
for it, mate.
Sorry, mate. It took me a while to find it. So a bit of pain in the bum. It's that one there. So yeah, look, basically, is it the right screen?
Not yet.
No. Okay, let's try that again. There you go. So it's this one here,
That's it.
right? And this is on. I don't know if he's on the same page there, Martin. It's that one there. Was that one there he was on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what it says here, look. Examples must be reported. A defective building work include defective competent person scheme, work that has been done as part of the wider fire safety issues that will result in the spread of fire. Okay, use of non-compliant products or incompatible with compliant products in the construction of the building. Let's not talk about fire. Let's talk about
That's
product,
significant.
It is.
Yeah.
right? Inappropriate or incorrect installation of construction products.
Yeah.
Product
workmanship.
failure against specific. Yeah. So when you look at, you go use of non-compliant products or incompatible compliant products. So
Yeah.
just to say, George, this is, and I'm really pleased this has been done in this wording, because basically what it backs up, George, you
It's
love
the
this.
whole thing, isn't it?
It backs that up.
Yeah.
That is your mechanism.
It does.
And if you
So
don't follow that mechanism,
Go back to it,
on.
Paul. One thing we picked out, you see that competent person scheme, we didn't understand that when we first read through it, but that,
Yeah.
so you've got a guy putting in some fire stopping, and he's
Yeah.
third party accredited. He's got, he's a member of a scheme that
Yeah.
gets people, makes sure they're trained and competent and what have you. That doesn't mean you still don't report. You can't report something that you see. You still have to, whether they're a member of it or not.
Well, that's when there's a difference between being competent and competency.
Well,
That's
even if they're
how
incompetent, you've got to report it. But if they're competent, you've still got to report it if you see something that's defective.
And what I mean is by that, I mean you can have someone that's FIRAS accredited third party for installing fire stopping for pipe work, but it doesn't mean they're any good at fucking dampers, does it? Pardon my language for the video recording now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
What, dampers?
But you know what? I've got a flight simulator. I can fly A380s on a computer. I wouldn't put me in the cockpit though.
Did you hear the story about Max Verstappen?
Max Verstappen, the race driver.
He told, who's he employed by? Who's the
He's
he
Red
drives
Bull.
I don't follow it.
Red
Red
Bull, I
Bull.
think.
He told Red Bull he'd win the next Japanese Grand Prix before they'd signed him up.
Yeah.
And they said, "How do you know?" He says, "I win it every time on whatever, Xbox." And apparently the simulation is that good now that it's not dissimilar.
And he won it.
Actually, and he won it. He went and won it,
Yeah.
and they took him on. When he won his first Grand Prix, he didn't have a driving license. But he could drive a Formula One car.
What's a driving license, by the way? No, I'm just joking. What's that one? No, it's funny because it's like one of the things that still makes me laugh.
Had he lost it for speeding?
No, he didn't have one. He'd never ever.
He never had a driving license.
It just and he knew how to drive a Formula One car because of the consoles. And you look at the console. I mean, they take it out with them, don't they? It's an iPad when all's said and done.
Yeah.
They do.
Amazing.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because the thing that makes me laugh, there's an analogy here as well, is that when this was all kicking off, I had people doing training comparing this to the Road Traffic Act, and I still sit here and go, it's nothing like the Road Traffic Act. It's not the same thing. Like you get caught for speeding, and you don't. It's not. I don't think the comparison's right. If that makes sense. This is a health and safety piece of legislation, not a Road Traffic Act. Does that make sense? It's just not the same thing.
Well, I think it's also that in the I would have thought the Traffic Act would be quite explicit. You've either gone over 70 or you've not, right? Whereas in this, the number of ways that you can fall foul of it are huge, aren't they?
They are.
I think. Look, I think with the what I'm saying is with the Road Traffic Act is that if you've got to do 80 miles an hour to save yourself from crashing and killing someone, that you can do that. I'm sure in it doesn't say someone's made a mistake. If you slow down, you're dead, but you speed up, you survive. Oh, but I can't break the speed limit. And you're going to break the speed limit. Because I think that is a surely acceptable thing in that it will say something in there about you can do that if your life depends on it. Do you know what I mean? It will be in there. So when you look at this, there's so much entrapment, because when you look at this thing here around the use of non-compliant products or incompatibility of products, let's just refresh ourselves on section 24, I think it is, of the Building Safety Act. If I go to the Building Safety Act, I think I've still got it here. That's the high-rise one. It'll probably be in here anyway, the high-risk building. Even like it's in high-rise. If I go to false, yeah, Section 24 of the Building Safety Act is what I want. Section 24. So if I go to Building Safety Act, oh, I spelled it wrong. Do that quickly. If I go to hit whole one. If I go continue open, if I go to false, a person commits an offence if they provide false or misleading information to the regulator. So look at how these two work together. If you don't mandatorily report it, they've got you.
Could I just build on that just for a second? One of the things that I've picked up, and it was you know, the guy that you put me in touch with, Paul, the guy on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I've forgotten his name now, Adrian, I think. But he's a building control specialist, and he's just moved from the council to being, and he's very, very thorough. It was you that linked me into his thread.
Yeah.
But one of the things, it was him that brought this up, and the fact it's a 2-year unlimited fines.
But it's tribal
and-
both ways.
Yeah, unlimited fines and 2 years in prison, right?
Yeah.
And it occurred to me,
Yeah.
you know, if you've got a set of O&Ms, Martin,
Yep.
and they're not as built, which very few O&Ms are as built.
Almost none, I would suggest.
Yeah. Then, unless you explicitly say that they are as designed and not as built, then you're providing misleading information.
And this is what I'm saying to you. I think everyone's look.
Am I wrong on that?
No, I think you might be right, George,
Mm.
personally, because the point is with this, right, is that if you do lab work and you get involved in that kind of shenanigan, everything's highly regulated, down to fumigation, down to everything, depending on hydrogen peroxide, formaldehyde, how you do pipe work, PIBs, you know, isogenopacs, you know, all the things that you got to do to make those labs safe. Pressure regimes. Is the wall going to hold back, you know, 2,000-3,000 pascals of pressure? How can you prove it? What testing's been done? What seals are you containment? It's all there because pathogen control is life safety critical, right? And the thing is that pathogen control supersedes. I don't know if this is still the same. It was at the time that if you had a fire in a SEAL4 lab, you shut the submarine door and you leave them in there and everyone gets burnt to death, basically. I don't want that to be facetious. You burn the damn thing out because you know with the heat that's in there, nothing's surviving anyway. Don't worry about it. You know, and that's kind of like the things that were going on because you can't run sprinklers in there because you've got an effluent treatment tank. You'll overflow it. Do you know what I mean? You've just got to let it go. And basically what this is saying is, for me, when you look at it all together, everyone's going on about fire at the moment and fire stuff. I'm going, well, this isn't referring to fire. This is all referring to safety critical elements, which is your water regulations. Because you get that wrong, people get Legionella, they get back contamination, and it can cause massive issues. Drainage system, sanitary ware. Because, Joel, do you know what it's like? What's in everyone's effluent isn't for public to be walking around in, is it? We learned that back from Basilgate, didn't we? You know, you've got to get rid of it. It's that none of these things are changing. It's just a case of they're going to need us to behave differently around it. My first behaviour thing I've learned personally is that don't think it's all about fire safety because it's not. It's about all of it. Do you know what I mean? And that's an interesting dynamic for me, you know?
And again, I remember Martin saying, you know, a couple of years ago, that really what you're doing now is you're treating all buildings as being something you've got to track, aren't you? Really,
it's not just about high risk; it's about all buildings. And if you've got a process that works in a high risk building, I mean, don't get me wrong, George. I mean, this isn't me, you know, blowing smoke out of all of us, really, you know, butts of all of this. But the 12 points, what you put together on the thing originally, that diagram, George, every time it comes up and I see it floating around, I just smile because people are using it, and you got to love that. You know, it's out there, right? And I'm always, you know, anything I do on lecturing, I always mention you, George. Anyway, I did on the one the other day again as well, and I got one on Friday with Seal. I'll be mentioning you again because of the effort that's gone into getting this whole BIM for housing, set up with all the, the black box. It's important, that mechanism works as far as I can see for everything. I can't comment on facades because it's inherently more of a different type of system than it is for walls and floors, right? It's got different things involved with it. But actually, when you look at things like water regulation, the same principle applies. Risk category of building, risk category of space, and category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 risks you've got in the building or categories of systems. It's the same principle, isn't it? How does it operate?
What one of the
How'd you-
things I could do with both of your feedback on this. One of the things I'm looking at the moment is how does this relate, other than new build construction, to handover, right? What I mean by that is Regulation 38, as I understand it, applies when you're handing over a project. Now, that project may not be a new build. It may be when something's rewired.
Yeah.
It's anything that touches on building regs.
Well,
I
there's
believe.
exemptions, isn't there? There's exemptions, wasn't there? I
Are
just read that in the air. There was exemptions. Sorry, if I share my screen again, George. So this isn't trying to cut across. I think this answers some of your question. That is, where was I? I was at. I'm going to set that off the screen quickly. Hold on. Exempts. Oh, can't spell, Josh. Exempt work. So 1 second.
Emergency repairs.
Come down to the bottom. Okay, exempt work. There was something here just now about circuits and things like that. I have to see it. And if I go to circuit, okay, exempt work. In relation to existing fixed, which is not fixed into. This is in relation to an existing fixed building service, which is not a fixed internal external lighting system. Circuit. Rather than dwellings providing fixed external.
It's pretty basic, though, isn't it? I mean, replacement of an external door.
Yeah.
So if, for example, somebody is replacing the fire doors in an existing building, I think that would fall under building regs.
Yeah.
Would it? Yeah.
Yeah. I'd agree with you. And
as I understand it, what happens is that the requirement for the information is defined at the and it's at that point that the client needs to confirm that they've received everything, right?
Yeah,
but
this
what,
is good.
But what they've then got to do is it then falls under something called a fire safety order. Because I've asked fire people, and they say, yeah, the Regulation 38 only applies at project handover, right? And I said, well, surely if there is a requirement for the client to confirm that they've received the information, surely then there must be some responsibility on them to keep it and maintain it. And they pointed me to another part of the legislation where it says that when you pass from one responsible person to another, so I'm interpreting that as being from, let's say, appointing an FM contractor, then both parties have got to confirm that they've got all the information that they need. Now that, I think that, I'm just checking my understanding. Would you agree with that, Martin?
I think so, George. Yeah, I think I think it would be difficult to argue against, looking at you know what Paul's just thrown up there. But I suspect you'll be pushing against closed doors because most people won't know that.
No, exactly. I mean, you know, to be there's a project that we're working on at the moment, or we're just starting, where Balfour Beatty are the main contractor, and Equans are taking over the asset management, and I think there's still some big gaps between that handover.
Yeah.
And I think what it's doing, nobody's going to get this right immediately, are they? But what it might do is shine enough of a spotlight on it that will encourage people, to be frank, like you, who want to see it improved. The problem often is that, you know, you and Paul, you'll be advocating for this within your own organizations, and people will be saying, well, you know, we've never had to do that before.
I think it's called Wind in the Wind, isn't it? Be polite.
But you know, maybe this is a way of, if we can articulate that in a simple way without being threatening, because that's the problem. You don't want to overstep the mark, as it were. I think anyway. I think we need to encourage people along a path rather than.
Yeah.
No,
you can't play hardball, can you? Just because it's just there's too many things in the air. I think in terms of no one's experienced this, no one's gone through it. The regulator's not going to be that sure. He's going to be busy with other things. So everybody involved, it's going to be new to everybody involved. It's going to be we're all going to have to find out together, aren't we?
My biggest concern is that what will happen is that until the first prosecutions occur, no one will wake up and smell the coffee on this. I don't think they will. I think that's the issue. Or you'll get what you'll probably get, Martin, just saying there, you'll get a slow burn where people don't realise that all of this act is, if you actually look at the work that's involved in a job and you look at things functionally, you're going to get you could get yourself prosecuted for using the wrong materials. I'm saying the wrong materials, the wrong water regulations come into it, the wrong chemicals in the system, before you even get to the level of fire safety element that kicks in later on, because that's got to be functionally correct. Do you know what I mean? So
therefore, the processes. Therefore, I'm just stepping back a minute, right? Because one of the things that I'm struggling with is, how do you relate a specification to a designed solution? Because the specifications, most people, when they're producing specifications, they're using something like MBS Chorus. And what that does, it generates, I believe, typically 1,000, 2,000 page document, a PDF, that includes, it's quite holistic. There's a lot of things in it. And therefore, for us to be able to say, what was the specification of that damper that was used? How can we break out that so that you've got a direct match between the specific, maybe I'm just trying to do something that's on too hard scale.
No, can I just have a laugh with you? So if I go to spec 2003, fire stopping, right?
Yeah.
And you'll go, not saying this is what it was. If I go 2013,
just but while you're looking for it, man.
No, I'm writing something down. Actually, you like this fire stopping,
George? What you're saying there, this is the difference between a spec and a design. It's one can't exist without the other, but there are two different things.
I think that summarises it up. Yeah.
Oh, can't quite say it, chap. You're gonna have to pull it back a bit, as they say.
Yeah.
So the writing might be terrible.
No. Oh, yeah. So in 2003, you got fire stopping by Hilti.
Yeah.
And then 2013, you got fire stopping by Contractor.
Yeah.
Could you explain what significance of that? Sorry.
The significance is, right, and just to bring my screen back up, this is where it's all shot to bits, right? I'll bring my screen back up onto this one here, and I'll bring back up that, and we go to part 3 general. That's everything that's required to specify one pipe at one wall for fire stopping.
Yes.
But you don't need to. You can do by Hilti in the old days, or now you can go by contractor.
And that's
the problem with MBS and NES.
I'm with you. Yeah,
So
because
the play on words is that you can't specify something this complicated.
Yes.
That's the issue. So when it comes down to things like in the high risk buildings, and just to show you this, so because we're all going on a good flow here. If you go to classification, I think I'm in the right one here, and I here. Hold on. I'm in the wrong one. This one here, I want, don't I? Have I lost it? Is it over here? Sorry. No. It's this one here. So that is the right one, isn't it? Let's have a look. Yeah, let's go to classification. Sorry, I've got too many screens here. Classification. A change of any construction product, building element to be used in or a proposed hybrid such as replace it is of a lower classification under the action file with the meaning of that one there. So it's all about change, right?
Yeah.
Major change is when you do something where you change, and this is where they've messed up. For the record, they've messed this up because it's not about reaction to fire. It's about resistance to fire and reaction to fire. So they've messed this up a little bit because they're looking at it on the basis, again, of cladding, right? This is how I'm reading this, right?
Yeah.
So if you change something where it is a lower classification under resistant in a fire classification with the meaning, let's have a look. Let's see what it says in regulation 2.6, right? Building regulations 18. I need to see what it says in there. But if it's talking about reaction to fire classification, hopefully they've got this listed right in there, because if you take a door, as I always said, in a hospital, it could be in a storeroom with bandages in it, and that HTM could say it needs a vision panel so you can see in the room, and actually you want to protect the hospital from smoke from that room. You want to insulate everything in the room, including the door, and it's going to have the integrity as well, plus the W for the glass panel, so nothing spreads. But you can have the same bandage store, put it in a commercial office, and the one in the hospital might be sprinkled as well. You go into the office and it's probably just got an E category and no sprinklers because the height of the building. So if you get it wrong originally and you're going up, do you need to report it? If you got it wrong originally and it's massively overclassified, which is what everybody is doing, especially in the damper market, I want EIS C10,000, I want it all. This thing's enormous. So you're going to fit that in the building and you go, what does it need to be? Imagine the rows you're going to have with that. So there's two parts of entrapment that's going on, right? The other one here, which is really interesting to me, see all these things are all linking together, can't you? From BSA to this, and I'm only picking on the bits I think relate to products that are pertinent to me. The rest of it, I'm not really worried about, to be quite frank, about how you pass information between people. I'll let someone else worry about that. I just want to make sure it's right for where you're putting it. But it's things under notifiable change that really got me as well. Where's it gone? So my screen's not very good today. That's control changes. That must be, is it one before or is it one after? It's one after, isn't it? Sorry, it's after. So you go down to notifiable. It will come up. There you go. Notifiable change means, again, if it's of a higher classification, you've still got to notify and you've gone from lower to higher. So they've got you both ways. Going from higher to low is a major, from lower to higher is a minor, but you still got to notify them, right? And this is the one that I love. This one here: a change to the number of dimensions of any openings in wall, ceiling, or other building element for any pipe, duct, or cable. Checkmate. So I just think when people, no, not being facetious, not saying this is what's happening. When people say, "What's the risk?" The risk of what? Doing something wrong, then trying to conceal it, because that's misleading. That's a criminal offence. What's the risk of it going wrong? Will it cause harm to people? Possibly will, possibly won't. But the bottom line is that we've all got systems in place now. When these seals are done on site, they're recorded in a system like Boris or other, where if that person has done their job thoroughly because they understand all the products, if it's even like a millimetre out, or a thou shy, are you reporting it has not been in line with how it's classified? Because if you are, then there's no risk that's low, medium. It's all high because you're going to declare it yourself anyway. I don't think you can hide from this. That makes sense. I think it's been put. Someone said to me it's not been put together very well. I'm going. Apart from the fact they're using reaction to fire, either the reaction or resistance to fire, which is what I think they should be saying. I think it's pretty much a done deal. You are not getting away from this.
Who's authored it? Do we know?
I don't know.
Well, some of the health and safety seminars I attended, there was a lot of reference to a group of civil servants at Deluxe who basically put it together. They have been very, very busy on it, and there was a lot of them on it.
I'm going to go in a minute, George, as well. Sorry to be a pain. I've got to get over to a project soon. To be a pain with it.
This has been very helpful for me.
Yeah, it's been helpful for me as well, because I mean I'm only looking at the bits I'm looking at, and it's just good to get other people's
But what you've said chimed with me as well, Paul. I've been looking at mandatory occurrence in isolation almost, and then I started talking to people who've been looking at change control, and you can see how the two are linked just by talking. And then there's other things that feed in that are. I think the summary of the day was quite good there, Paul. You're not going to get away from this. You're going to have to. You're going to have to tell them.
There's no hiding from this.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing for me is that it's not fire safety relatable. All of it.
Yeah.
A very small fraction is. It's water regulations. You got to laugh. That one of the biggest things on the CPR is autoclave concrete. And disrespect, people going out doing surveying this with gap gauges, like it's applicable to that, because it's not. This is the issue, is that actually some of the surveyors haven't got the competency around that type of concrete to understand what they're looking at. A gap gauge is just not right, because you can't tell if it's bonded still on the inside. It's really hard. It's really hard, mate, for people. But I need to scoot, guys. I'm really sorry, but good to parlay again.
No, always a pleasure, never a chore.
You too. And I see Mark. Mark's obviously out there in the ether now as well, wasn't he? He's no longer working for. Is it Boyks?
No, he's
working
not.
For.
It was.
He's. I've asked him what he's doing, and he said he's just taking a bit of time to work out what he's going to do.
Yeah, that's good. I wish him all the best of luck, mate, because he's a nice guy.
I think he's a very good guy. Yeah,
very good.
So
very, very, very good.
But I'll let you know.
He looks.
Yeah, I suspect he's already got something.
Yeah, I suspect he probably has as well. I've got his number. I'll stay in touch with him, because he was really, really good. So, all
right, Paul. You be good.
All right, mate. You take care, guys. See you soon. All the best. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Jess.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Yes.
We covered today, George. Do you think?
I think so.
Yeah. It's becoming just quite an interesting phase, isn't it? Everybody sort of got to October the 1st and sort of let out a big sigh of relief, thinking, "Oh, we got there, and it'll all sort itself out." But there's still a lot of learning to be done here. There's still a lot of understanding to be done.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and again, Paul said it, but without sort of saying we're the only ones who do understand it. I think talking to colleagues within the industry and within the company, there's a lot of understanding there, but it's not where we are, and we're still spending an hour and a half every Monday, once a month, sort of going, "What about this? Oh, I don't know."
Well, I went to an event that was the ASFP, Association of
Yeah, I know them.
Passive Fire. So I went to an event about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I was introduced to the director from Deluxe. I've forgotten his name now. And he was very interested in what we've done within BIM for Housing.
Mhm.
And he's asked me specifically to send him over the information that we did for the Golden Thread. So
Mhm.
I haven't yet done that, but I must. But he seemed very, very bothered. And he said that he was frustrated that some of his people hadn't, he was surprised about the level of information, as Paul was saying there, you know, the 12 asset types that we did the deep dive on, and the guide, the suggestions that we'd actually brought out the Golden Thread initiative. He'd not seen any of that, and he was disappointed that he'd not seen it. But you know, that was encouraging that he was bothered enough to make the point.
Yeah.
And then he did his presentation, and it was very, very good. And he grew up in a council flat that had mold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's very passionate about making it work.
Yeah. Rightly so.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. Rightly so. Okay, I'll download the transcript, and not the transcript, the recording, and send that across to Jis, and we'll do it all again in November.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Martin.
All right. Cheers, fellas. Bye then.
Cheers.
Bye. Cheers, George.
Cheers.